Morning, you guys. My name is Kristani Shen, and today is another tea session. For today's tea session, I'm just having plain old water because I'm trying to lose weight to fit into something for a special event. So I'm trying to lose at least maybe 3 to 4 pounds, specifically like doing crunches and ab workouts. So for my belly work, I want to get like flat abs. Okay, so for today's tea session, we're gonna discuss various topics. So in the news, as you guys have known, Haiti has gone through another earthquake. There's been a lot of devastation in this news this week. It has experienced another 7.2 magnitude earthquake, and there has been a lot of devastation. There's also been flooding, and there's a lot going on right now in Haiti. Also, I have also when I was watching the news, I don't know if you guys know or you've been following this, but there is a lot going on in Afghanistan right now. If you guys could remember, in 2001, September 11, 2001, there was the terrorist attacks. I know a lot of you remember that because a lot of you, maybe you might have lost some family, or you were here at the time and you remember that very vividly. So anyway, this past week, Biden decided to pull out all the U.S. troops all at once, and he didn't think it was gonna cause a problem. But when I was looking up on the news, it said that he had been warned that he was not supposed to take them all out at one time due to a lot of problems, due to several concerns. Anyway, I was watching this on the news, and he pulled out the troops, and as the troops were leaving, they were like in this huge jet plane, this army jet plane. It could fit a lot of troops, like about it could fit a lot. Like, I don't have the exact numbers, but if you go look up U.S. troops leaving Afghanistan for this week, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, the U.S. troops were about to leave Afghanistan because they had been fighting a 20-year war there. And what happened is that when they were going to leave, and the people heard that they were going to leave, almost all of them, a good amount of them, and that the air fighting, the air with them like fighting in the air, that would also cease. What happened is that there was a huge amount of Afghan people that were running after the plane. The plane couldn't even move because they were under the plane. Some were on top of the plane's wings, and the plane had trouble leaving. Eventually, when the plane left, after like a while, there were some people who were trying to attach onto the plane's, like the wings of the plane, right? And some of them were still on it, and as it went to leave for the US, at least 3 people fell down, and they fell down to their deaths. Now, I don't know if you have been following this, but this is important because now what's happening in Afghanistan is that the Taliban has now taken over. The leader, he was in exile in Dubai. He decided to return on his own volition. So not only have the Taliban, like, they fully took over Kabul, right? They took over Kabul. It's like they've set up a lot of posts, in Kabul. Not only did they do that, but the leader, he was in Dubai, he took himself out of exile from Dubai and he came back into Afghanistan of his own volition. So now the Taliban is in full force in Afghanistan. And now what's going on is like, it's like they've taken over. And why would this be important? It's important because you remember back in 2001, whenever you would hear about women in Afghanistan, the only representation I would remember being that age, I think I was like, I think I must have been 12 or something. I was in junior high school, or 13. And during that time, whenever I've heard of an Afghan woman, what I would know is that they had the people, they had those black long veils, and all I would remember is that they were always going through oppression. It was a very oppressive system. And the reason last week when I was looking at this on the news, why the people did not want the American troops to leave, is that when they were there, the women could go to school, they could they had a lot more freedom. They could learn like job skills, they could learn professions. They learned a lot, and they weren't under like as oppressive. They gained a lot of rights and freedoms. And now that the US troop is leaving, the Taliban, they're afraid that they're gonna enforce the same type of rules back again. So that's one thing they're very afraid of, and they don't want that to set up shop. And I thought this was important because this has a lot to do with women's rights. And a lot of the people, like, they've been trying to evacuate because once the Taliban takes over, it could go back to an oppressive system. The president of Afghanistan that was put in place, he basically fled and he left the country, and the people were left to just fend for themselves basically. So it was like there's a lot going on right now, and a lot of people pointing fingers at Biden, because they think that he underestimated the situation. They know that he underestimated the situation because the CIA had written him they had spoken to him about like this could spell a lot of trouble. There was a lot of parties talking to Biden saying this was not a good idea. So then this is gonna affect them, like the women there, because you know for 20 years they could go to school, they could get professions, and now it's like they're going backwards. And a lot of the women, they're afraid, you know, they've gone into hiding. They're afraid because they don't want to the same thing that used to happen, the oppressive regime that was put in place, to happen back again. Okay, so that in this week there has been a lot of turmoil. Okay, I'm gonna keep following this news because it's something to look out for, especially the thing in Afghanistan, the earthquake in Haiti. Okay, so now for this tea session, I started with the more serious things because I just felt like this week's news it's so important because it's so important. So to get into the gist of what I want to get into, the tea session is about how our modern society, it has really changed. You know, it has changed how we communicate with each other. For instance, now everything is done through instant messaging. Everything is done through texting. Even the art of just basically calling somebody up, like for instance, I'm a millennial, and a lot of the things that I've got to experience, a lot of people that are younger, they'll never experience, which is good in a way. Like, we didn't have a lot of the great technology that we have today, but a lot of the things that I got to experience, the younger generation will never get to know. And some of those things were very good. Like, for example, talking to somebody on the phone was much more something you did back then. It was much more popular back then, because texting was a little bit more limited, especially in the early 90s. So like, texting is great, instant messaging is great, messaging through social apps is one thing, but to hear somebody's voice on the phone, especially when it's your friend and they're talking to you and you could be on the phone for hours, it's a lot that this generation is missing out on, that they don't know that they're missing out on. Like, for instance, I remember I had this friend, I had like two of these friends. Whenever it would be my birthday, like, they would write me this handwritten letter. And the letter, because she, like, this friend, she had like this excellent way of writing, right? The way she wrote, she was meticulous when she wrote, so that when she wrote, it looked like it was typewritten, right? And whenever she would do it on like parchment paper, and not only that, she would put it on parchment paper, and it looked like she typed it, but you could tell that it was her handwriting because she was signing at the bottom. And like, back then the technology was not so advanced that you could like do it like that, right? And then like, she would put it like in a letter, and she would put like the ink, not the ink, the wax that you put to enclose the letter. Like, she was very detail oriented. And although like this new generation, they have a lot of great things going for them, like getting a letter from a friend, or getting a letter from somebody, like a loved one, like if you have like a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they wrote you a handwritten letter, that's something people, especially back in the 50s, like the baby boomers and like generations way before, that's something they would experience more on a daily basis, because phones hadn't taken over so much, you know. I know writing a letter could seem tedious, but when somebody writes you a letter and they write it in their own handwriting, and they make sure to like, it's like it's typewritten, even if it's not typed, it doesn't, their writing is not that neat, it just has a more special feeling towards it, that than somebody just texting you, hey, happy anniversary, happy birthday, or they're writing a note, I just because, you know, it has a different feeling to it, right? So the art of letter writing, it has gotten a lot out of style. It's one of those things I wish would come back. And speaking on the phone for long hours, especially meaningful conversation, it's something I wish would really come back, you know. Those things are really really great things, really great practices I wish would have stayed in this generation, you know. Like, this generation may have a lot going on for it, but the art of just being connected, and not only being connected, but knowing, like doing something, going the extra mile, because everything is made so easy. People everything is just 1 2 3, everything is microwave, so that like you don't have to go the extra mile, you know. You don't have to write a handwritten letter and put it in really a nice envelope on parchment paper and put that special wax on it. Everything is so ready and instant made that you don't have to call somebody on the phone. You could just leave them a quick text message and do everything just 1 2 3 like a microwave, you know. And everything being quick like this, you get lost in it being special anymore, right? Especially back in the early before the 50s, where letters would have to be would be delivered across long distances, and you'd have to wait days, sometimes weeks, for a letter to come in. And it would just be that much more special when you got that letter from somebody who was off in war, or if you got that letter from somebody that was across the country, you know. But now, within like 2-3 seconds, you could just instant message. But what is being lost at the expense of convenience, you know. What's getting lost is that extra step, you know. It's nothing I love more than when somebody takes that extra effort, especially to make you feel special, you know. Anybody could text, anybody could instant message, or do something like something that is a lot of money, but it's quick to do. But when somebody does something like they write you a handwritten note and they think about what they're gonna write, or even a card, you know, and they pick out a beautiful card, excuse me, they pick out a beautiful card, and you see that they put their all into what they were saying, and they had to formulate what they had to say. It's very beautiful, right? So then, to get back into it, like I don't know if you guys ever seen that French film. It's called Cyrano de Bergerac, and it stars Gerard Depardieu and Vincent Perez. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. I know some people might have seen it, because the main lead character, you could have seen him from somewhere, because he's very famous in France. He's a very prolific like actor. He does a lot of movies. And in this film, it's like basically a modern day, it's like an old century type of Catfish, right? So Gerard Depardieu's character, he plays the guy Cyrano, and Cyrano loves the main lead woman, the lead character. And because he loves her, but the thing is, he's not attractive, he has a huge nose, he thinks that he's unattractive and he's not going to be able to get her. So what he does is he gets the character of Vincent Perez to play off like it's him, but he's actually sending him all the letters and he's feeding him what to say. So over time, the girl begins to fall in love with Vincent Perez, who is like he looks like a Romeo type, you know. He's very dashing. And then, but the thing is that he didn't give the girl credit. He thought that all she was gonna go back on was on his looks. So fast forward, what ended up happening is that the Vincent Perez and Gerard Depardieu's character, they end up getting in a squabble, and he didn't want to write the letters for him anymore. So then the girl, because she's starting to really fall for this guy and all these letters, and she's starting to fall for everything that he's writing. And when Vincent goes up to the girl, and he just goes up as himself, she's like, hey, you wrote me all this great stuff, where is it? Why are you not talking to me like you used to say it? Because they didn't give her credit. They thought all she cared about was just the looks. So she's like, you know, I fell for you, but I really fell for what you were writing to me, all these letters, and when you were giving me everything that was in your heart, you know. And towards the end, the final scene, she finds out that it was not the Vincent Perez's character, it was Gerard's character that was Cyrano, that was sending her the letters. And then she was like, you know, you should have given me, the basic gist is like, she was saying she really didn't care about what he looked on the outside, but she really felt for the person that he was on the outside, because when he kept writing her those letters and he kept talking about his feelings, she said she got to know him on a deeper level, and that's who she fell for. And the movie does end tragically, because most French films do have a tragic ending. They try to be, they kind of end tragically, but it's kind of a good ending, because she lets him know that she really did care for him, and it's him that she really cared for, and not what his outside appearance. She cared for like the effort he put in when he was writing her all those letters. That's who she fell for. Okay, so then to go on, so this movie, it confirmed a lot of what I already knew. Like, men basically, they really fall for the visuals first, what the person looks like, and then they'll go in for the personality, right? They'll look at the person, and that'll be the main thing that's important. And then they'll look at the personality, the heart of the person, and if the heart really matches the beauty of the person, then it's like an A+. But women, the way you get into their heart is through sentiment. it's through sentiment. It's what you're saying. It's what they're hearing. Like if you want to get into a woman's heart, the thing that you have to do is you have to get into their psychology, right? And that goes into your feelings, it goes into your consideration, it goes into sincerity and the words that you're saying. And that is why boy bands in the 90s were so effective, you know, because I remember one time I was looking at TRL, and it was one of those boy bands, In Sync, or was it Back, one of them, and like they would have ambulances like parked outside because yeah, the guys look great. That's one thing. They had that look going for them. But the one thing is that when they were singing, it was like their songs were poetry, right? I would remember when I would watch TRL and those boy bands would come, the women would basically fall over. They would just, like the paramedics would be outside just waiting for them to just have fainting spells, because yeah, the boy bands look great, that's one thing, but it was really what they were doing with the songs, where they're tapping into the sentiment of the girls. It's like the words of the songs were going into your soul, you know, it was going into your soul, that they were tapping into something, into the woman's sentiment, and it really touched the woman's heart, you know. So basically, like if you want to get into a woman's psyche, like you really want to affect a girl, you have to be considerate, and not only considerate, but you have to tap into what she hears, right? And there's key things you have to say, like especially that has to do with your feelings. And when you say like how the woman is affecting you, like especially if you have interest in this girl, like it's more than platonic, you want it to be like a more romantic, you want it to be like a romantic relationship, then you really need to tap into your sentiment towards the girl, and then you have to get into the poetry of the thing, right? That's how you would tap into that, right? And like they're very affected by what they hear and the feelings that are involved, right? So then so with the art of letter writing, okay, so Cyrano de Bergerac was Catfish in reverse, right? So a lot of time today, you see that things are done much quicker. They're done much quicker, you know. You think things are instant, right? But if you watch the TV show Catfish, you'll see a lot of times people, they'll have like right around them there's a lot of people that a lot of available suitors for them, right? But then they'll go for somebody that they could message over long distance, that they've been talking to for 6 months, a year, some people 3 years, some people a lot longer than that. And sometimes they can't see the person's face, sometimes they don't even know what the person sounds like, but they hold on to hope. And sometimes the people, the person that wants to know if the person they communicate is a catfish, they'll have such high hopes for the person that could be the catfish. And although I don't understand the psychology of not knowing what somebody looks like and messaging them for 3, 5, 6, 8 years, but I do understand that in this microwave society, to have somebody who is, you're just writing to them, or sometimes you're just texting them or you're messaging them, and their main focus is on, okay, how you're doing. The main focus is on how your day is going, and they're not around you to just be physical with you, but they're really tapping into your sentiments. I actually get what that means, why these people latch on to people that could be potential catfishes for so long. It's because they give them something that is not so instant gratification in a way. There's something deeper there that they provide for these people. There's a purpose that they serve in their lives, you know. So if you look at the TV show Catfish, or any like real life catfish, you'll see that the reason why sometimes a catfish could have the person like for such a long time, like waiting on them, is because they provide them something that they're not getting in real life. And it's that it's not instant gratification. It's that love that's for the long haul. That pining love, it could be flawed because you don't want to keep pining for love, but it's like it gives you something that's less instant, less quick, less physical, and it taps into the emotions more, the sentiment more, right? So while women are more sentimental and guys are a bit more visual, guys can be sentimental also, especially if they see that the person really has a caring heart, and the person gets into their heart and into their psychology, right? That's why a lot of times you see catfish, the person, they don't know what the person sounds like, what they look like really, like they haven't talked to them, they haven't seen them on video chat, and everything is saying that this person is not who they say they are, but they keep hanging on. And this is because, you know, the person is providing something emotionally for them that they're not able to get in real life, because either everything else is microwave, or they can't get that deep sentimental thing that they're getting from the catfish when they're writing to them and just pouring out their hearts to them and really giving them that sentimental value that they really care for. Okay, so then that's my video for today. My name is Christina Jen. It has been a tea session. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.